Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Sword Art Online Alternative Gale Online episode review. This is going to be for episode 4, which is called Death Game. And yeah, I thought this was a pretty good episode. I think the cliffhanger ending and the amount of speculation you can have out of that was a really cool thing with this episode that I think helped to kind of add a little bit extra to the series, because I think we did need a little bit more going on right now, because the main plot otherwise is that Len is in the squad jam with M for the purpose of proving herself to Pito Hui to the point where, you know, Pito Hui respects Len enough that they will meet in real life. That it's that friendship going into real life is the core of why Len wants to get better at the game, and we're getting to that through this squad jam. And so I like that they, in a way, played on this kind of crazy, like, the interpretations you can have coming out of this, from the fact that Pito Hui basically put M on Len's team, and she apparently gave some sort of a message to him, and the reason this stuff happens at the end is because of something to do with that message, that he was meant to read it at a very specific time, and the message clearly said, take her out, or something like that. Kill her in the game at a certain point. And it's really interesting to interpret what exactly the ending is meant to mean. Because when they're on the same team, what I think the obvious interpretation is that if he kills Len, he can just resign from the game, and if he has some sort of a real life some sort of a real-life relationship, or like works for Pito Hui, who I think the obvious speculation is that she is Elsa, the singer, who is performing an event at the same time as the squad jam, that she in real life needs M, who is, like, in real life probably her manager or bodyguard or something like that. And the idea was that, like, if you can win the tournament in a certain amount of time, fine. If not, do this to get out of the tournament and we'll go from there. Is that meant to be an interpretation? I'm not entirely sure, because the other aspect of this episode was this complete, I suppose, turn in how we interpret M as a character. For the entirety of the first 3 episodes, as well as most of this episode, M is like this amazing player who is, like, cool under fire, amazing tactics. He reveals that, like, his kind of spatial awareness, his map reading, sense of the geography is one of his best skills, and then he demonstrates that he knows how to shoot in real life, which gives him this other advantage here, which I'll get into in a minute. And you contrast those skills, which makes him come across as if, like, is he like a combat veteran in, like, real life or what, with his reaction once Len turns the tables on him after he tries to shoot her. He turns into this kind of blubbering mess and seems like almost afraid of Len. And I'm not sure if we're meant to, like, link it together with what he said. Like, when he took out the giant shield thing, it was just like, yeah, I'm a chicken in the game. I always hide behind this cover, and almost implied that he's not particularly good at just kind of normal combat like Len seems to be. Are we meant to say, like, oh, so he's a chicken, so the second Len actually tried to fight him back, he was just terrified and actually didn't know what to do? And he's not as good of a player as we think. He has some very good skills and is able to lead from behind, but that's all there is. I'm almost thinking that that's what it is, that you're playing with this team, is playing on the fact that Len is an up-close fighter who learns to accept being the kind of the rabbit, the decoy, whereas he suffers from not being able to fight maybe just kind of normally in normal engagements, but is tactically amazing at guiding people when he doesn't have to be the one out in open like that. Or is this more of a personal reaction to the fact that he feels bad having to, you know, betray her on the request of Pito Hui? And that's what's so great about this, because I think the show has been fairly simple up to now. It's been good, but it's been very simple. There hasn't been a lot of depth to it right now, because the Pito Hui Len dynamic has been the only real, thing to really kind of delve into in sort of any sort of depth. This adds a bit more, and I'm interested to see, are they going to have a more comedic kind of solution to this, that he turns out to be actually someone who's not as impressive as maybe we thought in real life. Because I think what they're leading us down here is the idea that everyone that we see in the game is going to look very, very different in the real world. And we're so used to, for the most part, the characters looking very similar in both, outside of a few kind of specific situations. But here we're very much emphasizing how different people can look. Karen is tall in real life, but tiny in the game. I don't think we've seen what the singer Elsa looks like, but I'm assuming she doesn't look like Pito Hui. So that's going to be a big change. And then here, he's like the biggest kind of character we've ever seen in terms of like looking powerful and having the aura of like this amazing combat veteran. But is he going to be someone not as impressive in real life? And I think that's going to be part of the lesson, in a way, of this, that because we're just dealing with a game here, there's no overly crazy real life stuff going on like in most of the SAO arcs. We can just have a little bit of fun of the game, and that your character in the game doesn't have to represent you in real life. So that's that stuff. The big part of most of this episode was just the squad jam and them dealing with the hovercraft team and the tactics surrounding that, specifically the fact that M ends up taking all but I think one of them out, and then Len finishes off the other guy by using his rifle behind cover, revealing that what was in his big bag the entire time was this portable like armor cover that was kind of this like sniper spot, basically, that kind of covers him completely and seems to be able to deflect any sort of ammunition up to like 7.5 millimeters or something like that, which is a pretty cool thing. He basically says that you can only get it from like black market sellers, and it's crazy expensive. So that's an important note of like, he has a very, very, very expensive item. Has he been playing the game for that long, or did someone buy it for him? Because we know that Pito Hui buys guns all the time, suggesting she's really rich in the game. And I think from somewhere, I'm not exactly sure when, I think it was Sinon, it might have been only in the light novels, but I think Sinon told us at some point in one of those light novels that in GGO you can actually use real money to purchase like credits in the game, so you don't have to just play over and over again. So that would sort of fit with the idea of Elsa being like a famous singer, having lots of money and not having all that much time for the game, while still being able to like use all these different items in the game. And if she gave some of that to M, who's either her friend or someone related to her performing, that would, I think, make sense. But anyway, really cool there. I think it links into the fact that he also mentioned at some point that he was like a turtle sniper or something like that, and this explains that. But I think the most unique thing that they took a long time to explain, but I liked the explanation, was the bullet lines versus the ability to actually shoot in real life and how that affects the game. I think this was something that was sort of glanced over in the Phantom Bullet arc of SAO, that the focus, obviously the Phantom Bullet is meant to be like a referencing like the final sequence where like Sinon tries to, her like scope is gone, but she puts her finger on the trigger to try and aim, and he forgets that the scope is broken, and the idea of just the bullet line is a phantom bullet, and it distracts him long enough for like Kirito to get in close. But here we're emphasizing the other side, that he knows how to shoot in real life, and they establish that the sights and stuff like that on the guns in the game actually still work. You don't have to use the bullet line. The bullet line appears when you have your finger on the trigger but don't fire. Whereas they establish here that if you look through the sights of your gun, don't have your finger on the trigger, and only put it on when you're firing, no bullet line will appear, or else it will only appear the second you shoot. And it allowed him to take out the guys in the hovercraft without them noticing. And I like this because they are so immersed in the fact that it's a game that they're like, okay, we only dodge bullets when we see bullet lines. And it's sort of this bad habit to get into because the game can feature players who know to shoot in real life. So it works on most players, that just defensive tactic of like wait until you see bullet lines and then defend. But they were basically like, okay, he set up a sniper position, but he's not targeting us because there's no bullet lines. And they obviously wouldn't think that just naturally anyone could shoot normally. And that's why they focused on Len, who was actually firing at them. So I think it made sense what was going on here, even if tactically, like, you'd think that the players, surely they must want to target the guy with the big shield and the sniper rifle. But from their perspective, the way the game usually works, he wasn't offering any threat. He was just sitting there. He didn't target them until they realized far too late that he wasn't using the bullet lines. And they went into the whole Pito Hui and Len scene where they explained this and the benefit that you get out of it, but like it's a difficult skill. And then more or less establishing that because it's still only a game, it's slightly easier in terms of long range shooting to like accomplish a lot. So that's why he was able to like hit moving targets on hovercraft from a sniper position as quick as he did, because the mechanics of the actual scope and like I suppose all the different factors that go into a long range shot aren't as difficult as real life in the game. So it's a kind of real benefit, the skills that he has. And again, it just served to really contrast that with the kind of blubbering mess he turned into at the end, and how shocked Len was by the sudden turn that her turning the tables on him just completely changed who he was. But that was most of the episode. They really didn't focus on much else. The last team it seems to be an all-female team, which I think is going to link into the first episode, and the fact that it's that group of girls watching with Karin in her house watching the replay. I assume those girls are going to be revealed to be that final team, and this will be what makes them actually friends in the end, knowing that they both play the same game. So I think that's the final, question, the final mystery I had about that weird choice to go so far in the first episode, but it's all sort of paying off now. So that'll be exciting to see how they do it, because like the next episode is like it's something along the lines of I'll do it by myself, I'll fight on my own, sort of suggesting that like Len will try and take out the last team on her own. But I think that's everything I want to say about this episode. The focus really was the shocking ending, the bullet line stuff, M's shield and kind of fighting ability. Beyond that, there wasn't much else that really happened. They're in a sort of bad position heading into the final fight, so it'll be interesting if Len has to do it all on her own, how exactly it plays out. And how to do the aftermath to get her to the point where she like knows who these people are in real life, and especially with how they do the Pito Hui and M kind of finishing off that little arc of like she has to be shocked by what happened and demand a response from like Pito Hui if she ordered this. So yeah, that's the review for episode 4 of AGGO. In the comments let me know what your thoughts were on the episode, but yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.